Hello and welcome. We're here for the Canadian Grand Prix at the Mosport circuit. We're visiting Canada in Ultimate League for the very first time since season 6 of the competition. We're just 25 kilometers north of Lake Ontario. Below there, we've got some oval lovers down in the United States. Lots of left turns there. Well, it's a right turn, but pretty much an oval still here in Mosport. We're expecting a lot of pack racing here today, and I'm joined by my great friend Jake.
Hello, Skippy.
That's me. Yeah, it should be interesting. Oh, lag, crikey. Right, it should be a really interesting race because of the lack of, how would you put it, braking zones. There is a very tight hairpin that has a slightly weird complexion to it. And then other than that, it's a pretty precarious track. We're expecting a lot of slipstreaming, a lot of pack racing, and qualifying will be the all-important factor here. So as we look at it, with 2 laps of 3 done, Buda currently sits on provisional pole by about a tenth and a half. So do you reckon he'll be able to keep that all the way through the quali, Jake? Will somebody else nick it off him?
I'm predicting Buda to absolutely run away with this pole position. Currently, only seven of the drivers are beating the CL quality time for pole.
You're right. At the end of the day,
real improvements.
None in the top section of the grid, and that means, come the end of it, Buda, for Flow Force, will take pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. Antti and Grandi will start a fantastic 2nd and 3rd for the Nordic Thunder team. Then it's Hernandi and Sobel, 4th and 5th for Levioso Sports Art. I Stole These Words start 6th ahead of Kraft in 7th. And it's Corvid who'll start 8th in that special FGR livery, celebrating the team's home race and also Goose's 50th race. He races for the team in place of Marion, but he'll start lower down the order. Razim and Pamushas lock out the 5th row of the grid. They share a lap time, as do Corvid, Kraft, and I Stole These Words. So, pretty big ties there. Girouni takes respectable 11th place in the qualifying session ahead of Cubo. He'll be slightly disappointed with the 12th. That's Goose behind them in 13th place, again the white FGR car, and Caddo will start from 14th place on the grid. Andries in 15th, and it's Urist in the Lynx car, Gwetsley and Dr. Known, aka Niels, the first Belgian racer in the league since season 4, back when Furman left, makes his debut today, but he will start last on the grid, just over a second off that pole position time. Jakey, other than Carnage, what are your predictions for the race?
I reckon we'll see quite similar to this call. I reckon we'll see a Buda win. I reckon he'll start his winning streak for the season to push for the Drivers' Championship. I reckon we'll see Hernandi and Sobel also push through the Nordic Thunders. I reckon LSC will continue their good form. Hernandi yet to win a race this season, but I think he could come close today against Buda. Just a few points from that. Cubo, 2 tenths off his pole time that he had in CL. He's going to be quite disappointed with that. His pole time would have got him, I believe, 9th place. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Certainly should be. Let's see about this. As we have all the drivers line up on the grid, we are underway, but I think Goose is on the wet weather tyre. I don't think we have rain on. We might not. Hard to tell. But we'll continue as it is for now. Buda still leads. Hernandi and Grandi and Antti all putting the pressure on. This is the crunch zone as we come into this all-important corner. Looks like all the drivers have actually made it through for the time being. Hernandi, about 19 seconds into the race, is already asking for a slipstream train to come his way. He gets shuffled a little bit down the order, and he pushes his teammate all the way into the wall, maybe trying to start a lag rocket there to gain them a little bit of ground. Meanwhile, a big pack Summer will come out crying from this. I'm almost certain Corvid had a pretty big off in the track, and he's just backed his pack up behind. The concertina effect as they go through the hairpin, and further up, Grandi gets a penalty. That will be hugely costly because he falls all the way back into this middle pack. He's down into 9th position now. Andre's nearly into the pit lane. He might have been had we continued with the old pit entry wall. Buda still leads. Then it's Antti, Hernandi, and Sobel. Grandi, the big loser at the start. Oh, it's a huge crash. Unbelievably big crash there. We'll have to go and have a look at it. I think it was not Goose, but it was... Yeah, I think it was Grandi and an LYR car. And that was a massive lag rocket there, and we're getting just a little bit more lag. And I Stole These Words also had a big off there, and Sobel and Rozim both off as well. I think they both got penalties, or at least Sobel definitely did. So we've had quite a lot of collisions as we go, all relatively well behaved on lap 1, but then after that, it's been a bit of a mare. Oh, we've got more lag, and the cars are massively spread out there as well, sort of well, you can tell from Andrews being in 6th place, this is no normal race start, but I think there was quite a lot of people being thrown around sideways and any which way they go. Jake, your thoughts on the race start?
It's a crazy start, and a really good props to Dr. Known. He's up there in the top 6, so to speak. He's around about that fight, so he's had a fantastic start. Goose starting on the wet, I think that must have been a mistake. He's pit for fresh rubber, and you see the top 8 on softs. A bit more lag, the drivers will have to deal with that. Obviously, Matt and Corvid there fighting. You don't really see Matt up this high, but he's definitely been really happy with this. Same with Dr. Known on debut, you know, he's up there, and so are both the SCPs. Gwetzley doing great, so Heck's going to be one very happy team boss.
Mental start from them. I mean, that is truly extraordinary. They're both up 8 positions. Dr. Known up 10, I believe, or up 9 at the very least, and Gwetzley up 7, that's right, and they're both in that mid-pack now. Obviously, you could credit the slight burst of lag that we've been having, but that is a huge start from those Scuderia Paracaro cars. They're all backed up right behind the Australian man Corvid. It looks like hopefully the lag has stabilised, at least for the time being. 3 wide there. We're going to have a look further up the order, but it is still pretty much Buda, followed by Antti, and Hernandi has just left their slipstream at the moment. That could be crucial. Jaruni, also really worth mentioning, up 6 places from the start, and Cubo, of course, up 8 places from the start. That is an unbelievable start from the Flow Force driver, who's just scythed his way through the pack. Urist also a very good start from him, as it was from Andres, the SCPs as well. And then you get to the people who did lose out off the start. Grandy down 8 places. I saw these words, I believe, down something like 4, 5 or 6. Then Pamushus and Rozim also down, and Kado, a big loser there, down to 17th place. Sobel all the way at the back, because he has now stopped for the very first time off that old soft rubber, and that it really does say something about the field, the fact that one pit stop will take you from wherever the LSA driver was, but presumably near the top pack, all the way down to last position. We'll see if any more drivers come in here. It looks like Randy is into the pit lane, as is Gwetzley, just ahead of him there, and Goose will come in for his second stop of the race, and he is firmly in last position. I believe rain is on, and I believe Goose was checking if it was on, and that is why he equipped the wet start tyre at the start. Of course, Goose, poor old Goosey, you know, bit of aquatic life there, and he's not used to the dry conditions perhaps. But we see here Urist go into the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix here at the Mosport circuit, because he started on those hards and he is yet to pit. Antti and Buda will be trying to get through, but if I can guess what Urist might be trying to do, he would love just that cheeky lap lead come the end of lap 11, because I don't think he quite nicked it as he went across the line at the pit exit, but he will certainly take second place come the end of this lap. Any insights from you at the moment, Jakey?
So yeah, you got Antti in pole, and he's on pole in first place. He's starting to try and gap Urist to close that slipstream. He's hoping Urist stays out a little bit. He wants it to, you know, slow down Buda and Hernandi. But, you know, we're on lap 12. Urist will be thinking about pitting soon. From what I've heard, hards tend to go for around 16 laps, perhaps. So he's maybe got 3 more laps or so. Antti onto the softs. They go for around 10 laps, 11 laps. Hernandi on the mediums and Buda on the hard. So all the top 3 are on different. Ooh, there's Buda going wide. Isto gets past. Isto will be thinking about a pit soon. From what I've heard, the medium's about 13 laps, so this lap probably we will see him pit, as we see Urist slowly dropping back down to the grasp of Cuba, who's already pitted, so he's going to be thinking about pitting soon. Shirley, not yet. 14 laps, that's really starting to push the hards, you know, 15 maybe at max. Isto pits, he's onto the mediums, as expected. Antti, that second gap to Hernandi, so he'll be thanking Urist for the help in that.
Yeah, it was a tricky one, that, because I think Urist just unintentionally must have edged Buda off the track there, and Buda wouldn't be too happy with that. He came storming back in, and I don't think through any fault of Buda's, but through the collection of cars that then came up to that corner right on the exit of the hairpin. Urist got slung around the track, lost a lot of positions, and now he's down into 10th place and not yet into the pit lane. He's got Sobel ahead of him, and then just a little further up is Grandy. Dr. No Neil's still up there, but he's I think just been shoved off to one side there perhaps. He's definitely stretching those hard compound tyres out, and that nice pit entry with the wall removed means that they get in pretty nicely. It's going to be a race with Sobel on the pit exit. Can Dr. No just take that inside? He will. It's a lovely wide pit exit with these small cars, and that makes good and safe racing most of the time. So Eurus still yet to stop. He is in 8th place, going for his 16th lap on the hard compound tyre. Even Mart's softs are starting to be worn out now, and Eurus has stretched those hards as long as they'll go, praying for the rain, which, if you're not familiar to UR2D, is sort of the equivalent of a safety car in real-life motorsports. It will completely reset the strategy, and everyone will have to come in for a tyre change, unless you want to gamble it then very quickly drying up afterwards. So, if you're out on an old tyre trying to extend that stint as much as you can, you're just waiting and praying and waiting for that little drop of rain, the indicator on your weather radar that it will start chucking it down. Girouni continues his impressive start. He's up in 5th place still, but he's edged off a little bit by the Australian Corvid, just looking there, the FTR driver all the way around the outside at the sweeper. Obviously, the position he sees himself on his own screen will be vastly different. Grandy into the pit lane for his second stop. He's one of 4 drivers to make that second stop after Sobel, Goose, who was forced to do so after an early wet stint, and Rozim, who is now down a pit stop behind everyone else as well. So that I'm not quite sure. Jake, did you spot what happened to Roz there? He has fallen quite a ways back.
I am not sure, no, but with regards to Sobel, he's down in 13th. As things stand, I know it's very early on in the race, I think it will mean FLF just outscore LSA enough to take lead of the Constructors' Championship. So I don't know what's happened with Sobel. He's maybe getting caught up in too many battles, but he's really starting to struggle. He needs to put his head down and focus, gain some more points. But as we see, I think it's anti-pitting from the lead of the race.
Yeah, it was a really, really strong start to the season for Sobel, winning the first 2 ever races with, as the league being Ultimate League. And then last race, obviously not quite what he'd want it to be, but a really good recovery to 3rd place, just nicking that podium off the man who is currently 3rd here, Cubo. At the very, very end of the race, getting the better exit out of the final corner was all that it was, and pulling up to the line, he was separated by hundredths of a second, but oh, Pimu, I think, hit the pit wall there. That was an issue that we were told was fixed for this track, but he definitely slowed down quite a lot around that general area, so it might not have been resolved. He is now going to come out of the pit lane in 15th place ahead of Gwetsley, and that is must be a bit of a gut punch as the BAR team owner, surely, Jake, seeing your driver that low down at this stage of the race.
Yeah, it's not fantastic, but I know Pimu's got it in the back. He's a very consistent driver in his day, and for this week at least, it's going to be Butter providing the media talk, so I will not comment on that too much. But Buda has taken the lead. He's yet to pit off the hards. He will be thinking about a pit stop soon if he pit around. I think he was on the softs, or he's took them quite a long time. He'll be pitting maybe this lap, maybe the next. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see that as we see Cubo. He's in 3rd. Fantastic. He is ahead of Hanandi, but Hanandi has already pit 1 extra time. But if Cubo, he needs this. He needs a podium. He's had 2 4th places so far. So close to a podium. So far, though, this might be the race he finally gets it. Grandy, really strong race.
It's actually unbelievable, this Grandy thing, because he was last after that huge lag rocket going through just the end of the first sector there. He was in last position, plumb last. And we were just watching this battle in the mid-pack there. I think Caddo and Corvid slinging it out. I saw these words also getting involved, and they're now going not too quickly through that sector. Looks like I think Caddo will now have the advantage more in his favour, as he's just on those hards and no doubt a little bit older, but obviously coming into their own somewhat. Pimu recovers up, and now the battle's moved backwards through here. Sorry, Jakey, take it.
Yeah, Isto should be thinking about pitting just like Frap has done. Maybe 1 more lap, maybe 2 for Isto. I'm not quite sure what his plan is, but there's a massive fight going on here between Goose and Goose, 2 SCPs.
Unbelievable,
that's fantastic.
Goose.
And Sobel fighting Eurus. Sobel on the grass. Oh, what's going on? Oh my god.
4 wide. Oh no, Sobel big into the grass, and there was a big loss from that. I believe Eurus, Goose, and Andrews were all able to get through, and Sobel held up the SCPs behind him. The SCPs looking very racy, despite what their qualifying form might suggest on the back row of the grid. They are really sinking their teeth into this fight to the point where, well, aside from Rozim, who we still don't quite know what happened to him, but look at this. I Stole These Words has been up in the top 10 and down in 17th. This is a huge mid-pack battle, and he and Caddo really need to work together here. The Frenchman and the Brit, not 2 countries famous for working together, but they clearly did in their occupation of Canada. That's why we're racing here today. We're going to see Gwetsley just fighting with Eurus here, and we're seeing Dr. No Niels. Yeah, I think he was just plane forced off the track by Eurus, who is not really on much. He's on an older tyre, so it should be less grip for Eurus. And Dr. Known also not on a lot of grip on his tyres either. They just need to be really careful through here, and I think Dr. Known had to back out quite a lot as Eurus just came into the lane there. We'll have a look higher up now. We've still got Kraft and Goose and Gwetz and Andres fighting over the final position in the top 10. So was broken clear of them. Pamucius, then Grandy and Cubo looking pretty elite as always. Jaruni running a very solid race up in 5th. He's going to have to hope to not fall all the way back into this midfield scrap, and I don't think he will. He'll come out ahead of Pamucius, and he'll come out up in 7th place. Pamucius is actually on decent condition tyres. No two drivers seem to be on the same strategy here entirely. It's a very mixed up scenario at the moment, because you've got, well, we can run it down from first. Anti on the softs that are about to go away. Hanandi 4 seconds back on the hards that are just doing okay at the moment. Hanandi yet to win this season. If he does so, that will mean that obviously they had Sobel and Hanandi winning. LSA with 2 winning drivers, just as they had in seasons 4 and 7 and what was the other one, Jakey? Sunday League X, wasn't it?
It was season 10.
Yeah.
And the only other teams that even accomplished that once, that was Flowforce back in season 2.
I think we're joined by Nuno now, are we?
Yes.
Hey, mate.
And also Full Force did it as well with 2 different winners.
Yeah, back in
Yeah,
season
I just
2.
joined very recently. I really don't know exactly what's been happening before now.
Well, we'll catch you up
But
on
yes.
it, and just in case anybody else is tuning in now, we've got Hanandi out in the lead of the race on hards. It'll take him a few laps still. Buda behind chasing on fresher hard compound tyres, and Anti on fresher yet softs. He's made 3 stops. The drivers ahead have made 2. Grandy behind on older softs. He's recovered really nicely up to that 4th position. Cubo on fresher hards, looking to chase him down, and Jaruni very much involved in this fight. Almost even for the podium, but definitely this fight around the top 4. He's on softs that are in very good nick at the moment. Corvid also very much in this battle. He's on even fresher softs. Kraft a little ways back, and he's a good bit ahead of Pamucius, who's ahead of Cado, then Gwetzi, I saw these words, and Sobel. That's our first big train of cars. But we'll go back to look at the fight for the lead potentially, because Buda seems really not so far away. And we had a little bit of rain there, I think. We might have just had it, but the sun is coming back. So just a little bit of ghost rain perhaps. This is a really intriguing battle up in the top 3. Any of these drivers could win. Of course, Anti has won just 1 race since season 3. He won in Central Park last season. Hugely monumental victory for him. Buda took his first ever race win, which seems long overdue. Last time out in Mactongar, and he made a mistake there, but so did Hanandi, and the top 3 closes up ever more. This is the closest we've seen them since the early blows of the race. Hanandi very much now nearly in the clutches of the Estonian and the Finn behind him. Buda makes an error, and Anti will coast through on those fresher soft compound tyres. He's really gunning for the LSA ahead of him now. Will Anti be able to make that move for the lead of the race, coming on to the next lap, lap 37, as we enter it here, and Anti up the inside to turn 1, and Andy really just gave him that. But he's under pressure from Buda too, who forces his way through. Nuno.
Yeah, this seems to be very crucial moment for both Buda and Nani to, I think, stick on the slipstream of Anti, but I don't think they're actually doing that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it seems like it's been happening what was kind of predicted. Like some drivers like Anti going for just full on softs because it's a much faster tire, but some drivers still trying to save that 1 pit stop, which could be crucial on such a track where people could just run very close to each other for long periods of time. So yeah, I think that's why probably Buda and Nadi went for those hards to also slipstream. But so far, I think he's looking good for Anti if he's ahead with more pit stop.
He's in now, yeah. So 4th pit stop for him. Buda's only made 2. Hanandi also in on the softs, and Jaruni will inherit an almighty 2nd place. That would be his best ever finish. I doubt it's going to stay quite in these positions at the moment unless we get some very, well, I guess depends on who you're looking at it for, but unfortunately timed rain for Anti. Very fortunately timed rain it would be for Jaruni, but the sun is currently out, and I think he'll be coming in, if not this lap, then probably next lap, off those softs that have done a fair bit of life in them. He could be Buda's golden ticket to a 2nd race win in a row if he can hold up Anti, because I'm not sure, well, it would be the wise thing to just let him through and slipstream. That is the thing, but it's the degree to which he can slipstream that's the difficulty, because Anti will be looking to break clear as quickly as those softs will take him. Hernandi and Cubo all in behind, and Grandi and Corvid. It is essentially a 7-way fight for the podium here. Jaruni in now, so is Corvid behind, and Sobel will come sweeping through, and he, on pit exit, will take 6th position off the Belarusian man, now in 7th. Jake.
So yeah, Sobel's done a fantastic recovery. You know, we saw him at the start of the race. He was below the pits. He was around 16th, 17th place, but you know, he's had a fantastic recovery. He will need a pit soon, though. The softs are coming towards the end of their life, maybe next lap. Same with Rooney. I think they're on quite similar strategies. As we see Caddo pit Pemushus around the outside of Corvid on the pit line, it looks like he just kind of let him pass there. I feel like Corvid should be the faster driver on them fresh softs. Buda 3-second gap. And Andy and Anti, I think, are fighting on another just about. Anti's got some very nice tyres. Buda probably will have one more stop, so these two shouldn't be fighting too much if they want a chance to win this race.
No, they should be slipstreaming as much as they can at this moment in time, because
yes.
they're on...
Also, sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
Yeah, also seems Buda's having 2 pit stops compared to Anti. That's interesting, actually. It reminds me a bit of the Season 9 race in the Baku between Riddle versus Buda, where Buda also saved 2 pit stops, but in the end Riddle ended up being more successful, even with 2 extra pit stops. And here seems to be, I think, very similar. I think Buda, will go for, I guess, an undercut and then have older tires in the end and see if he can hold on to the end, or maybe hope that the rain comes in the meantime. And yeah, and I guess Hernandi is going for, I think the hards were more to have better tires compared to Anti now, as he seems to be catching up to him. And I think he's already ahead of Anti now. So that's very crucial. And now Anti is the one with older tires, despite having more pit stops.
Bit of lag for
It's
Buda
a very
there.
interesting.
They're going to be looking to overtake him. It's now a 3-car train. And Buda makes a little mistake at that final corner. They both go ploughing through. Buda from 1st to 3rd on 1 corner exit. That is the effect to which these slipstream trains, when all the cars join up together in one string. Oh, and Anti makes a move up the inside, forces Hernandi wide. Buda will try to profit off that, and he does to a degree. Hernandi just sliding wide there. Buda still tucked in behind Anti on incredibly old hard compound tyres. I mean, surely at this point he must be in soon to take, what would it be, the medium for 11 laps to the end?
Yeah, that would be the short end of the stick. He could take the softs for 11 laps, but they would be really struggling at the end from my first from drivers. But Buda will be hoping and praying that he sees a bit of rain, but I really don't think it's worth going out for this long. He has to be in this lap, surely, maybe for a pair of mediums, maybe for a pair of hards. It's really preference at this point.
Mark backwards in the pit lane as well. That was quite funny. I think he missed typical Mark. He missed his
like,
he's gonna be in a fight with Corvid and Grandi. He won't be pitting. He's to the end now. He's wanting to, maybe use these guys for slipstream, but also just get past them as soon as possible.
Difficult job that, especially with Corvid.
Exactly, yeah, he's past Grandi. Will he get past Corvid on the same? Yes, no, not
It's
quite.
a very hard job to pass Corvid.
It really is.
And that's Hernandi.
And Hernandi's overcut. Hernandi's overcut, but he's still going to be right in the clutches of these drivers, unless there is a big bit of battling here that causes them not to be. But no, Buda has slid in, but he is on a lap older and a step harder tyres. Mediums for him, softs for Hernandi, and Anti, while Jeru is in 2nd place, is looking to just carry away as far as he can. Jeru now comes into the pit lane. It has been an absolutely valiant performance from the Belarusian driver at the moment. Really a really strong talent in this league, and he's looking for potentially a 2nd career podium. He's got all the time to make up now. He's got to try and get past Cubo on the hards, and then Grandi a bit further up the road. He's on medium tyres. Then we get back to our leading pack of sorts. It's Buda and Hernandi, but crucially Anti, who did come in and does have tyres that are just a lap older, I believe, or a couple laps older than Hernandi's, has done that, has really put that into effect. He's now got this 2-second gap and could be looking at another race win, and that would be a huge thing for him. Of course, he absolutely dominated in Central Park. He's not done so today. He has had to fight tooth and nail with these 2 incredibly fast drivers. I mean, Nuno, do you reckon he'll be able to do it?
Yeah, I think at this moment, I think Buda is kind of helping Anti because he seems to be battling, so that's really going to be costly for Hernandi. Yeah, I really don't know what happened on that hairpin because I think Hernandi really lost a lot of time, and that seems to be really a decisive moment for the race now.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I do think that yeah, Anti can certainly win this now.
Got the Mayhems fighting over last position and second last position in the background. That is quite the change of pace from where they were last season, obviously locking out the front row of the grid in Jakarta. That's right. Yeah, it's also an interesting battle behind here. So Kubo is just going to look to take those hards to the end and stay in the slipstream of Jiruni, but looking at a re-overtake of him would be really difficult. Corvid and Sobel have just slipped away from this fight up in the top 6, and Kraft looking at a very respectable 9th ahead of Famousas in 10th maybe. Kado in 11th. We might have a bit of late rain here, just as we've had in a few races previously. Oh, a big pack there. Goose up the inside of Uris Gwetsley also involved. Dr. Known a bit behind. Then we've got the two Mayhem still there. Buda, he's very tempted for a move here. It becomes a point of how long do you stay in the slipstream, trusting that you'll catch Anti on slightly fresher tyres, and when do you just have to accept that second place is your fight here, because Hanandi is going slowly. Buda is going to try and craft an overtake up into the sweepers here into the final couple corners. This is really losing them time, and it forces Hanandi wide, and he steers wide again. That is pure driver error, I believe, unless he saw something very different to what we saw on our screens. But Hanandi now down into third place. Buda has taken that second for granted. He thinks this is what he's going to get out of this race, and Hanandi just needs to try and regain that slipstream. Jiruni, meanwhile, has caught Grandy. We've got the fight over 4th, the fight over 2nd, but no fight up top as Anti starts the penultimate tour of the Mosport circuit. Meanwhile, we've got all sorts of fights going on still. Corvid and Sobel have dropped away from each other. Kada and I saw these words still battling. It's Uris and Gwetsley also going at it too. Anti still leading. He's got to have his heart in his mouth at the moment, because this is huge for him. He's taken 5 stops. That's 1 more than Hanandi, 2 more than Buda. But as he starts the final lap of the race, it looks like they won't be able to catch him. Keep your eyes permanently fixed on this, because Grandy has gone wide from 4th down to 6th, and Kubo, who secured a top 4 twice this season, not yet a podium, definitely won't get a podium as it looks here, but he certainly could regain that top 4. It's so close between Hanandi and Buda, but he's not in slipstream. A man who has broken away and has driven valiantly is Anti, who wins in Mosport. He wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, behind Jiruni takes 4th out of Kubo and Grandy. Then it's Corvid who takes 7th, and Sobel in 8th. Then it's Kraft and Pamuchas fight to the line. I think a last corner penalty there. Kado will take 11th, and I saw these words 12th. Then it's Goose and Gwetsley coming home 13th and 14th. But as it was there, Anti wins the Canadian Grand Prix, and Buda took 2nd place. It's Uris Dr. Known, Rozim, then just ahead of Mart at the end of the race. And as we run through the final results screen, here we have it. Anti, for the 2nd time in 2 seasons, is a Grand Prix winner in Ultimate League. He's our 3rd different winner this season, and will do a world of good to Nordic Thunder's hopes. It's Buda who took 2nd place in the end, taking it off Hanandi in the dying laps. Jiruni takes 4th position, his best finish since Central Park. It seems that they have a bit of a link there, because this top 4, if you remove Hanandi from it, was the exact podium we saw in Central Park. Definitely echoes of last season. Kubo will just about take 5th, and Grandy, it might have just been that final lap mistake that put him down to 6th position, losing out some crucial points for Nordic Thunder. Corvid in FGR's home race will take 7th place and the fastest lap. That's not a bad shift from him. Sobel takes 8th, and it's a very respectable 9th from Kraft and Lynx Racing, and 10th from Pamuchas, and that is a pretty remarkable race behind us. Kado finished 11th, and I saw these words 12th, and we've got Goose, Gwetsley, Urist, and Dr. Known. A very solid debut, and Scuderia Paracaro 14th and 16th points they will absolutely take after some torrid times recently. Rozim takes 17th place, and Andries 18th. Of course, Andries slowed down for the line, but don't forget that this top 10 was separated by 12 seconds, and the top 17 only by 27. So that is amazingly close racing that we got all race long. I'll go to you first, Jake, for your thoughts on that race.
So yeah, it was an amazing race, and especially for the Nordic Thunders, you're going to be over the moon. Grandy, he could have got 4th, but at the end of the day, his tyres just weren't with it. Buda, I don't think he can be angry with a 2nd. Anti did a fantastic race. Buda did a fantastic race too, but I think Anti just had that pure pace. Corbett will be happy. He'll take 7th in the fastest lap. And Sobel, like I said during the race, he had a fantastic recovery. At the start, we were seeing him, not even in the top 15. So I think 8th place will be very good. And I think with them results, LSA will just stay ahead for FLF in the Constructors' Championships. But Levy will be hoping for a little bit better showing from their drivers next time.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, and it's also interesting to note even this pack chasing behind was really not that far off. I mean, you can say that Girouni less than 3 seconds off yet another podium, and Cubo and Grandi right behind him. Really solid shift from those lot as well. So really, it could have been anyone's race today, and it proved to be the strategy. Anti taking 5 stops, Nandi taking 4, and Buda taking 3, and those no doubt and the tyre compounds that they chose resulted in the final order that we have here today. And Nuno, your thoughts on that one as well?
Yeah, I would say big congrats for Antti. I think amazing race for him to see him winning. I would say I don't think he would be the one to win or expecting to win, but certainly amazing that he did it. I'm guessing that there was no rain for the number of pit stops, so I think what made him win was certainly the strategy. Going just for softs, making probably some other cuts against other drivers, and so he probably didn't have that much traffic after pitting. That's what I'm guessing, because it could have been the risk of him like losing a lot of time behind drivers on old tires. But I guess that didn't happen, and so he wins in the end. And I think this will be certainly very impactful for the drivers' championship, because he was in second in the standings coming to this race, and with Sobol we only P8s. I think they're certainly going to be really close, and I think the fight for him is on, and I think he has said that he likes the next track, and who knows, maybe a second win in a row for Antti.
Definitely could be. He has a proven track record of that. A cheeky little round 4 and round 5 win for the Anti-Amazing. So anything's possible. If we can, Buda, would you be happy to give your thoughts on that race? You finished P2 in the end. It was very close to a win. How did that one feel?
It didn't feel good, but I was very underprepared, so I had only three practice days.
Right.
But I'm happy I'm getting more points than Sobel and Nandi.
Yeah, big race for the championship, that one. Antti, Buda, Hernandi, all on the podium. Sobel off the podium, down in 8th place. I mean, that must have huge repercussions. How do you fancy your chances? Who do you see as your biggest rival in Istanbul?
Sobel.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, good stuff. If we can, go to your teammate, Cubo. So in the end, it was 5th place for you. Not quite the top 4. You just lost out to Jeru in the end. Can you describe the final laps battling with Jeru and Grandi?
Jeru completely helped me up to 5th place thanks to his slipstream. I started and I was not expecting to just get up to the top positions from 12 right off the bat. And I went for the alternate strategy of the very risky. But in the end, Girouni's slipstream really helped me 5th place and secure a good team result for FLF.
Yeah, it was a really solid shift in the end there, absolutely. And must be looking pretty promising for the season to come. I think. Do you reckon that you'll be on the up on that podium soon? Maybe even on the top step at some point later on this season.
I must be. I under practiced and with the proper amount, I will be challenging for as high as I.
Great to hear. Yeah, and finally, if we can, if he is still here, yes, he is. Goose, it was your home race. It was your 50th race. Big landmark for you and for the team, and in the end, not a terrible result. How did that one feel, being at your own track, racing on home ground?
I was so excited for this weekend. Got my first JL pole, got my best CL finish in Season 3, and then I checked to make sure the rain was on, and I started on freaking wets.
Man.
But I climbed back to P13, which is something that I've never been able to do in Sunday League since it was Sunday League, like Season 6, so I was happy with my resilience to get back in decent amount of points, and Corvid got a okay result for FGR, so without Marion, a decent weekend and a fun home race.
was going to say, that's a remarkable recovery from starting on the wets, being in plumb last off that to up in 13th place, and obviously Corbin in 7th. It's a good showing there as well.
I got to drag on Sobel's slip a bit because he pit so early, and then I got to drag on others' slipstreams when they took their pits, and just extended my softs, put out a hards, and then I was back in it. I made it up.
Brilliant stuff. I think that is all we have time for today, but...
If I may,
Oh,
could I ask my... I'll call him my employee, but he's not so. He's the boss of BAR for the week. He's usually the one asking me the question. So, Butter, if you are here on BAR side, what would you think of the race? How did it go? Obviously, Pimu only got 10th, but it's your first experience as a team boss. So, are you happy with how that happened?
Is my mic working?
Yes.
Okay, so I think heading into it, I had like a very fruitful race in CL. So heading into this race, there was a lot of optimism from my end. And I think during like the meetings before, not to like spoil the big details, but we set off but realistic expectations before the race, which unfortunately I don't think really lived up to for the most part. I mean, I think lag and just general bad luck screwed us in the opening stages, and then um, we just kind of got swallowed up by that really competitive mid pack. I think slowly it's a mixed result, not the result he wants definitely, but he's not super far off Pemu even and did decently after being forced into like a recovery drive situation. I think Pemu definitely had great pace, but just super unlucky, and it's not the sort of finish that a driver of his standard would have been pulling for. But he is just like super reliable, and on a different weekend, I really think he would have finished higher up. Of course, thanks to you, Jake. You were such a pain in the ass to deal with in virtuals last season, and now you've given me my first go in management in Ultimate League. So maybe not quite the dream debut for me, but still a very special moment. And I only really have you and British Ariel to give my thanks. Yeah, that's about it.
and
Yeah.
Butter, if I
because
may,
you'll,
is there a plan
Yeah.
next race potentially to spend more tokens and try and get a better result?
Yes, definitely. Maybe an axle upgrade or two if we're lucky.
Getting faster. And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll leave it. That is the Canadian Grand Prix at the Mosport circuit. And we're back in Istanbul for the Turkish Grand Prix. First time we visited Turkey since Season 3, so it should be an absolute thriller. But for now, bye-bye.